Hello, it's Alex. Today I'm going to be talking about horror films. I've always wanted to do 31 horror films for the month of October, but I just never seem to have quite enough time. But this year I thought it would be fun to choose 13 horror films and watch them throughout the month. At least then 13 films over 31 days is a bit more manageable. So yeah, this isn't my top 13 horror films, this isn't even Halloween related films, this is just 13 horror films that I have chosen to watch this October in the run-up to Halloween 2016. Some of the films I've seen before and just wanted to re-watch, most of them though I haven't seen before, and some of those I have already watched this month, seeing as we're already getting closer to the end of October, but again most of them are still to come, and I'm going to have to try and cram in a lot of films in the next week or so. So in no particular order, first up is Village of the Damned from 1960, and this was directed by someone called Wolf Riller, which is kind of amazing. And this is a black and white sci-fi horror set in a village in England, and without giving too much away, the village is inhabited by a bunch of creepy children who all look the same, and they seemingly have some kind of power where just by looking at you they can make you do things. So this is one that I've wanted to see for a long time but just never have, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to finally watch it. And I did watch this one earlier this month already and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a great British horror, it's a classic, and yeah, if you haven't seen it I would recommend checking it out. Next up is Tales of Halloween from 2015, and this is an anthology, so there's various different directors that have directed the different segments in it, and this one, obviously it's Halloween related, so I figured this was a good choice. I've already seen Trick or Treat, which is another great Halloween anthology film, and really love that one. I've seen that a couple of times now, and I watched that again last Halloween, so I figured this would be a good choice for this year. It has a really terrible rating on IMDb. I think it's only got like 5 point something, so I had low expectations going into it anyway, but it was actually pretty good. Most of the segments were enjoyable to a certain degree, some better than others, and there was definitely one that was just a total dud. So if you're looking for just something fun that you can throw on and half watch and be entertained by, then this is probably a good one. So next up is Demons from 1985, and this is directed by Lamberto Bava, and it's an 80s horror movie and it's called Demons, so that was really all I needed to be wanting to watch it. Plus it's Italian, so I'm assuming the music is going to be amazing. And following that up with Demons 2, I'm hoping to double bill these because I just think that would be fun. And Demons 2 was from the following year, 1986, and was from the same director. Next up is Black Sunday from 1960, and directed by Mario Bava, who just so happens to be the father of Lamberto Bava. So this is one of those films that I've wanted to watch for such a long time, since I was a teenager, but for whatever reason it just hasn't happened yet. So I figured this year I'm going to make it happen. And I don't know much about this one either, but it's about a witch and it's starring Barbara Steele, and that was really all I needed to be sold on it. It is actually a film that I first saw mention of in a book I had when I was a teenager, and it was the book of Clive Barker's A to Z of Horror, which I seem to remember was a TV series on BBC, but maybe I'm just imagining that. But I definitely had the book and it was like my Bible. One of the letters in the A to Z was about Black Sunday, and I just thought it looked awesome. So I am really looking forward to finally checking this one out. Next up is Only Lovers Left Alive. This is from 2013 and it's directed by Jim Jarmusch. This one I believe is a vampire film. My husband is a big Jim Jarmusch fan, and this film has been on our to watch list for quite a while, so we figured because it was horror related we could tie it in with this 13 films for Halloween thing. Next is Possession from 1981, directed by Andrzej Zulawski. Apologies if I mispronounced that. This one I've seen recommended over the years and just haven't gotten around to watching it, so again, great opportunity to finally get around to it. And it's got Sam Neill in it, and he can be pretty creepy, so I think this one should be good. And I'm assuming it's about possession of some sort. Next up is The Devils from 1971 and directed by Ken Russell. And I believe this one is set a few centuries ago and has something to do with religion and witchcraft, and there's probably got like naked nuns in it or something, so winner. Next up, another devil themed film, I mean it's Halloween, why not, is The Devil Rides Out from 1968 and directed by Terence Fisher. This is another British film and it's a Hammer horror, I believe. I hadn't watched this before, but this is one of the films on the list that I already watched this month, and yeah, really enjoyed it. It's got Christopher Lee, who is just incredible, and I'm always up for watching a film with him in it. It's basically about a couple of friends and another of their friend who seems to have fallen in with a group of Satanists. I really liked this one, I'm glad I watched it. It was one of those films, again, I've wanted to see for ages, and it was good to finally see it. Yeah, it's just a great Hammer horror, you know, what more could you want? Next up is Crimson Peak from 2015, and this is directed by Guillermo del Toro, and I'll be honest, I think he's overrated. I know I'm in the minority there, but I'm just gonna say it. But saying that, I am intrigued to see this one. I've heard mixed reviews. I don't think it's supposed to be very good, but it's supposed to look great. I believe it's some kind of gothic horror romance type affair with ghosts. So yeah, I think I'm just more looking forward to the visuals of it than anything else. Next up is Ms. 45 from 1981, directed by Abel Ferrara. And this is one that I saw already this month but hadn't seen before. And it's about a lady who is raped and she then goes on a revenge spree. The director did Driller Killer, which I saw as a teenager, and from what I remember it was very boring and it was rubbish. He also did Bad Lieutenant, which I think was fairly grimy, so I was expecting something of a combination of those two, that it probably wasn't going to be very good, but I was intrigued enough to check it out. But I actually really liked it. I would really recommend this film. It's, if you like 80s films especially, it's very of its time and the music in it is awesome. The main character is also mute, so she doesn't actually say a word throughout the whole film, which I thought was really interesting, and not at any point does that feel, you know, slow or boring. I liked the setting of 80s New York, and yeah, it's kind of cheesy, but I just really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Next up is Les Yeux Sans Visage, Eyes Without a Face, from 1960 and directed by Georges Franju. This is one that I had seen before some years ago and rewatched earlier this month. Yeah, this is another total classic. It's a really unique story, especially for its time. It's about a young girl who is facially disfigured and her father is a surgeon and he's trying to give her a face transplant. I don't really want to give too much away, but it's highly recommended. And finally, number 13 is Prince of Darkness from 1987, directed by John Carpenter. It wouldn't be Halloween without a bit of Carpenter. Halloween is one of my all-time favourite horror films and I love rewatching it, but I thought this year do something different. And I have seen Prince of Darkness before years ago and remember really liking it, but my husband hadn't seen it, so we already watched this earlier this month, and yeah, it actually holds up pretty well. It's about a group of scientists who go into an old church because there's some kind of mysterious force in there that they're investigating. Some of the acting lets it down a little bit, but it's really creepy and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's and also something that I hadn't really noticed, I guess, the first time around when I watched it, because I would have been fairly young, was the fact that there's quite a good number of females represented in this team of scientists. So yeah, I appreciate that, John, thank you. And it's got Alice Cooper as a homeless person, so that's always cool. I think it's pretty underrated for a, you know, John Carpenter's obviously very well known for some of his films, but I don't really hear about this one too much. I remember like taping it off TV when I was a teenager and watching it, so yeah, I just don't really hear about it much nowadays, so if you haven't seen that one, I would recommend it. So that is it. Like I said, this isn't like my top 13 films or anything, this is just a selection of 13 horror films that I'm watching this month in the run up to Halloween, and hopefully it might inspire you to check some of them out, whether it be for Halloween or any time of year. If you do, let me know what you think, and let me know if there are any specific horror films that you're going to be watching this month. I'd love to hear about it. So that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you again in my next video. Bye! And Jesus, wait. Sorry.